Hello, School Transportation Nation. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Tony Corpin, publisher and president of School Transportation News, brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software. Got a great green tip from the Propane Education Research Council for you as well this week. And always wonderful to have Miss Taylor Ekbatani. She is with us again. Ryan Gray is putting the final touches on the April edition of STN Magazine, so he's not with us, but we got his partner in crime, Miss Taylor. Welcome.
Thanks. Great to be on here with you, Tony. I know we were joking that it hasn't been TNT for a while, so I'm excited for our conversations today.
That's right. I'm ready for a dynamite interview as well. You were talking to Kim DeHaven, the supervisor of transportation at Englewood Schools in Colorado, and she's the president-elect at the Colorado State Pupil Transportation Association. So looking forward to that chat, Taylor.
Yeah, I think it's good to have some women representation on the podcast, Women History Month. So I reached out to Kim and I was like, we need to get you on. Like, let's talk. How has women leadership changed, while you've kind of been in the industry? And so we had a really great conversation. It was good to talk with her. We also have really great woman-related articles, women leadership articles on our website. So definitely this month and any other month, go to STN Online and read those.
Speaking of leadership changes, there was a leadership change at IC Bus. I'll be talking a little later with Justina Morosin, the new vice president and general manager of IC Bus. The reins were handed over by Trish Reed, who has moved over to lead the electrification division of Navistar. And we have both those lovely ladies in a Q&A interview coming up in the April edition. So dovetails nicely into your Women's History Month, Taylor. So glad to have them on with us.
Yeah, and it's a great interview in the April edition. So definitely when that comes out, everyone should go read that, check it out, see what's happening at IC. Lots of big changes over there.
All right, great, guys. Want to jump right into our green tip of the week offered by the Propane Education Research Council. They want to talk to you about propane. It's energy for everyone. Did you know that school buses fueled by propane can help you reduce emissions in your community while saving you money? Propane school buses have a lower average carbon intensity than electric school buses over their lifetime by more than half. And they emit up to 96% less nitrogen oxide than diesel buses. All of this from fleets with the lowest total cost of ownership. It's no wonder propane is the most widely used alternative fuel in the school bus industry. You guys can learn more at betterourbuses.com. That's betterourbuses.com. All right, we're back. Excited to drop some headlines on you this week. Taylor, we had the STN Transportation Director of the Year, Mr. Kane Smith, do like a cameo video of his life, like a 14-minute long video. Really funny. Like he's driving at like 0300 hours in the morning, right? Like 3 a.m. into work. He is talking about what it's like being a TD at one of the largest school districts in Texas. I loved it. Knowing Kane, it's so him, and you really get to see the real, which is awesome, right? And he's with his assistant director of transportation, Cheryl Hill, who has been there for 40 years, which is crazy. She looks great, by the way, in the video. And he jokes like, hey, I need Cheryl here for another 12 years. And she gives him this kind of look like, yeah, right, Kane, not staying. So, it's always tough finding good people that can back you up. And he really counts on his leaders and his organization to kind of keep everything rolling. And Cheryl made a comment too. When she started at Cypress Fairbanks in Houston, there was one high school and now there are 12 high schools. So that's some growth right there in 40 years, right? And that doesn't count all the other schools that are probably built elementary and all the other supporting middle schools. So so much growth in those areas and around the country, around school transportation. Texas, we know, transports a lot of kids, and it's its own little universe sometimes down there. But really great to see what the life is like for Mr. Kane Smith, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, it's funny because I was watching the video when I visited Kane, and I know you've kind of been out there and visited Kane as well. And watching the video, you feel like you're with him. Like that is how he acts. That is Kane in his glory. He's taking you on his day. They have a lot of fun in that office. They get a lot done, but they have a really good camaraderie. And that comes through in the video, which is really great to see.
Yeah, guys, if you want to check it out for yourself, go to stnonline.com, drop in on our latest news. It's in there. You'll see a big picture of Kane. He's wearing his Houston Astros jersey. I mean, as a LA Dodgers fan, I'm kind of conflicted about that, but he wears it proud. He loves wearing his World Series rings. They must be replicas. I think maybe he's just living in the glory days, but we got to always give him a bad time. We always go back and forth on Texas sports with him, but great guy, great transportation professional, great leader. I'm so glad to have him on there. So guys, please check that out on the website. Really awesome interview, really great, kind of almost like a social media view, right? It's just so typical of our day and age right now.
Mm-hmm. I know I was talking to Ruth, our social media manager, who put the video together, and she's like, he sent me so many clips. Like I might have to put together like a blooper reel.
Oh, the outtakes.
Yes, of him. So maybe stay tuned. Maybe we'll see.
Excellent. All right, we got some other headlines. Chowchilla, we had posted on our website 48 hours, had through CBS kind of recanted what had happened with the Chowchilla kidnapping. And Chowchilla, if you guys don't know, that was in California. And this mass kidnapping was the largest in U.S. history of 26 children from a school bus. It was totally premeditated. And really what prompted this kind of, let's call it documentary to revisit what had happened was the gentleman who kidnapped these children were paroled. So you really got to see the reactions and very visceral, strong reactions from the children who are now adults on really the impact that it's made on their lives and the long-term stress and the long-term kind of emotional distress that they're still experiencing 40, 50 years later. It's just wild to me, Taylor. I mean, You watched it through. What were your reactions?
Yeah, so I think for me, I hear that story, right, come out through the industry. People talk about it. It's, a very... what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like those stories that everyone in the industry knows. And so for me, being new and watching that video, I wasn't alive at the time, and essentially watching it and recounting that, it was so sombering for me. I mean, there was times where I was feeling chills. There was times when I wanted to cry with the people there because, they're doing these interviews. And then, one gentleman, he just walked away. He was like, I need a minute.
Gut-wrenching, right? Just gut-wrenching to watch the emotional reaction because these were children, right? The ages was 5 to 14 roughly?
14, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I could not imagine, what they were going through. And, having that gun, one girl talked about having the gun pointed at her stomach. And she was like, I didn't know how long.
It was a shotgun, right? A sawed-off.
Yeah.
It was a shot. Like that. That's scary, right? That's a serious weapon.
Yeah. And then being buried in this truck and thinking, okay, this is it. I'm not going to make it out of this. I could not imagine that feeling that they experienced.
Yeah. And I remember hearing one of the little boys at the time who he was saying, I was so scared I was going to die.
Yeah.
And, as a 6-year-old, probably shouldn't be feeling that emotion. And no child should. I have young children, 5 and 8. My children have never experienced something so stressful, so just egregious that it's shocking. It's almost like you're in disbelief that it happened. And right, this is a cow town in the 1970s, Dairyland, was it Unified School District? Mm-hmm. And it was just it blows my mind that something like this even happened. And, we really took it back and started to dissect the video to some degree because these are eyewitness accounts of children who are now adults and they're recalling what happened. And also you have to think, okay, what's the accuracy of all the little minutia, all the little details? And I think as a school transportation authority, as we are, we're always looking for nuggets to take away to say, hey, look, how can we be better as an industry? What are the learning lessons from an incident like this, right? And many people have kind of broken it down. And we saw the driver, Ed Ray, who was a veteran school bus driver, and we've had a little debate about what really happened here because it was like, did the driver get out of the bus? There was a white van blocking the way. The recant of the students was that Ed didn't know what was going on. He went to investigate. But it was like, investigate, he drove the bus around. And then the way the report goes, or at least the eyewitness account is that a gunman with like pantyhose over his head comes to the doorway and Ed opens the door. Like, big mistake there. Don't open the door. Speed off. Get away. Guy with mask overhead, gun in hand. I don't know if he didn't see him through the glass or what, but that was a major error in judgment. And the question then becomes, if he hits the gas and speeds off, does this incident not happen? And it's easy to sit back, and judge. But when you're in the moment, could there have been better training? And again, this is a veteran driver. And I know a lot of you out there have veteran drivers. And you're like, oh, my driver would never do that. But would they? What would someone do in that situation? And I think it's just bringing forward, what did we learn? How can we take away something like this? How can we train up our people? Maybe even train the kids, right? Kids of this age, it's hard to contemplate what that really means. Is it a video game? Is it like they don't know what that real peril looks like? These kids felt that. They felt the threat. They felt the fear of death. It was probably just so emotionally distressing. It's hard to kind of articulate that as a child. And you're holding that emotion and that fear inside of you. And we see that come out in some of these interviews. It's tough to watch, Taylor.
And I believe Ed Ray had passed, which is why, he wasn't interviewed in the segment. But I'm almost wondering what he was thinking, as the school bus driver, like, oh, if I don't open the door, are they just going to start shooting at the bus, shooting at the windows, trying to hit a student? So I could see that perspective as well. Okay, maybe if I open the door and talk with this gentleman, maybe he won't do as much damage. But honestly, I have no clue what the driver was thinking or what any driver would be thinking have that situation, occur to them.
So Taylor, after seeing this, I reached out to someone who I always lean in on to kind of get reaction. And that's Jeff Castle, who's the president of the School Bus Safety Company, and just kind of get his reaction to it. And really, not even seeing the whole thing, knowing the story, Jeff and I had a great conversation about, what drivers should do. And I guess, when you flash forward to 2023, the chances of a mass kidnapping with all the communication devices that people have, smartwatches, GPS, video, probably highly unlikely. But driver training and incidents can happen. And we come back to, what could the driver have done differently? If something suspicious happens, Jeff said, call it in, radio dispatch, call 911. Maybe they didn't have 911 back in the 70s. Probably not. I don't know when that was founded. Probably can find that out. But calling dispatch, saying there's something strange happening, letting them know your location, giving them an update, right? It was a misstep. There was no communication. Did that school bus not have a radio or a communication device? It's possible, though probably unlikely. So what would have been the outcome should have a radio call come in? So these are all little things that could have potentially happened to address what happened in Chowchilla. And it just, you walk it back and you wonder what could have been if something different was done, if the training was different. So it just comes back. One of the other arguments that came up that Taylor and I were discussing before the podcast was, did Ed Ray actually exit the bus? Did he get out of the bus to really see what was going on? Eyewitness accounts didn't say that, but did it happen and just wasn't recanted that way? And one of the things Jeff had also recommended was make sure the school bus driver never leaves their seat, and also turns off the bus and takes the keys should they actually get out of their seat, because you don't want to leave the bus running with the keys in the ignition. So again, these are safety tips to keep in mind for everybody. So it really hits home, but really kind of quite an interesting segment by 48 Hours, Taylor. And I really feel like it landed home for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's an article on our website at stnonline.com, and it kind of points you to where you can watch that video. So it's on the CBS website. I would definitely encourage everyone to watch it. For me, it was just really eye-opening, what can happen and what did happen to these kids who are now adults, and now they still are living, with that trauma. And so that is just, I don't know. It's hard to find the words to describe, watching it. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Taylor, do you remember the dynamic duo Batman and Robin from the old 60s show Bang Boom Pow, right? You might have been a little young for that, but, there's a new dynamic duo on the scene. That's TransFinder's RouteFinder Plus and Wayfinder. RouteFinder Plus is TransFinder's award-winning industry-leading routing solution, and Wayfinder is the driver app that is changing the way drivers and subs approach their routes. Together, this pair provides the winning combination to help combat your school transportation woes, including driver shortage, inefficiencies, student discipline issues, while helping you improve the driver experience. RouteFinder Plus is intuitive, browser-based, and includes route optimization to help you build the most efficient routes possible. Wayfinder, the driver app, provides turn-by-turn instructions and allows users to take attendance and work seamlessly with Plus. You guys can learn more about this dynamic duo by emailing getplus@transfinder.com or giving them a call at 800-373-3609. All right, before we head over to the interview with Taylor and Kim, I'm talking with Justina Morosin, VP and General Manager of IC Bus. All right, School Transportation Nation, without further ado, Miss Justina Morosin, IC Bus Vice President and General Manager. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Tony. It is exciting to be on the podcast. And I have to say, I have very much enjoyed all of your podcast. I am a frequent listener.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Now, Justina and I have known each other for a while. She's been kind of out of the fold and she's come back to us in bus. Do you want to kind of share with the audience, Justina, kind of your previous life in bus and how you left and came back, just to kind of give them some color on you?
Sure. Would love to. Yeah. So my career has been 23 years and it's always been in transportation. However, I started off more on the automotive side, and I've been with Navistar coming on to 19 years. And in my years with Navistar, I've rotated through many different roles under the commercial operations space in sales operations, and marketing. But prior to this current role, back in 2014, I did a run with IC Bus as their vice president of sales. And an interesting fact is, I think many people do know that I was vice president of sales with IC Bus, but I actually was a regional sales manager for IC Bus and Navistar back in 2009. And that's really when I really started to understand and embrace the school bus business, as well as really enjoy how small and family knit it really appears to be. So the fact that it is small, I think, is wonderful. But the part that really got me excited about the IC bus space is, unlike any other class 6 to 8 truck that we manufacture within Navistar, IC Bus has the most precious cargo of all, right, which is the children. And being a mother of 3 boys, I just feel very passionate around the school bus industry and ensuring that, we're providing a really safe and clean means and contribution, getting kids to and from school every day.
Yeah, no, family is very important. Kids are so important as part of this. And I know IC Bus is committed to, really doing its best to innovate in the market and really provide top line quality products. And you guys have been very busy, obviously, with the EPA funding. You guys have been really active in the EV market, as well as other, powertrain components that you have with diesel and propane. Do you want to talk a little bit about some pilot projects that you guys have had that have been successful as of late with maybe an EV deployment, perhaps?
Sure, I would love to. It's been so interesting running through all of these electrification pilots and projects and partnering with our customers and our dealers and then other solution providers to come up with the best experience for our customers. It's really great because we all know that, this is all for the greater good of providing, a really healthy environment for the future generations. So, there's a big underlying vision here to accelerate the impact of sustainable mobility. And I would say from an IC bus perspective and from a Navistar perspective, that's really our guiding star, and it really informs all future decisions that we do. But with that being said, we take current responsibility for bending the curb on carbonization and driving change to sustainable solutions. However, we all know it's really early, right? And it's unknown and it's a learning journey. And so working side by side with our customers to be that end-to-end solutions provider, we've been learning and we're still learning along the way with our customers. We have deployed electric buses all over North America and, in British Columbia, as well as several states in America. And we've done some large deployments, and then we've done some small deployments with customers. And again, it is such a learning journey. It seems that every piece and part of the experience when you are thinking about electrification changes. When we think about warranty, for example, it's different. When we think about financing, it's different. So it's not even, many people just go straight to the infrastructure and charging, which is for sure a big space that we're learning in. But I would say that it's even bigger than that. Everything that we think about and know about as we've traditionally sold to customers, it's all very different when you look at it from an electrification standpoint.
Now, do you see a bit of a learning curve for your dealers as well? Because we've gone from a much more traditional diesel model. Now you're introducing a new powertrain. People are having to kind of get up to speed on the latest and greatest and working with infrastructure partners, right? It's working, trying to put together a conglomerate of best of class options for the customers. How is that working between IC Bus Corporate and the dealer network and integrating with some of those partners as part of this whole learning process?
Yes, it is thank goodness we have, I would say, one of the best dealer networks out there as far as representation from an IC Bus perspective. And they truly are our partners and always, willing to work with us. And really, they are at the front line with the customers. So that learning journey just isn't from an IC Bus perspective to our dealers, but our dealers are also giving those learnings back to us. And that communication is really critical and important when we work through this. But from an IC Bus perspective, we are all about creating new business models that make sense for our customers and that are going to make our customers successful. And so we're leveraging our partnerships with our dealers and resources, as well as even part of our Trayton group, leveraging, some of those learnings from the Trayton group and our other brands to accelerate our progress on technologies and also to help anticipate and manage demands that will be coming our way. So we truly do work with our dealer network, and we actually just finished a couple of weeks of something that we called IC Bus Boot Camp, where electrification was a big part of that trainings, right? So working with our dealers and making sure that we are sharing everything we know when we're thinking about how to be an end-to-end solutions provider. Because I think that that's really key here is the more we learn, the more we understand that it is critical for the success of EV deployment to really help that customer at the very beginning of their journey until the very end. Traditionally, as a IC bus manufacturer, we could build a diesel bus, gas bus, propane bus, and just deploy it out to our dealers, and our dealers would deliver that to the customer. That doesn't work with electrification and electric buses. Not today, at least. And I'm sure into the future, as we learn more and more, it could change and become more seamless. But today, it's really critical and important to stay really close with our customers and our dealers through the journey and ask those questions of the customer in terms of a consultation piece. How many vehicles do they plan to electrify? What are their local utility rates? What does the local power delivery structure look like? What does your existing site look like? What are your routes? There's a lot of initial consultation that really needs to come into play before we start thinking about the solution, and the bus itself, as well as the charging and the infrastructure.
Sure. Great. Yeah, no, great insights there. And I know with leadership, I had the chance almost a year ago to sit down with Navistar CEO Matthias Karlbaum when he kind of took the helm of Navistar, and he stood on stage at the ACT Expo, which is coming up in May 1st through the 5th. And he laid out a vision for Navistar where school bus was pretty much the tip of the spear for Navistar as a corporation for electrification, because school buses made so much sense based on the fixed route. Now, fast forward, we're basically a year later, and now you've taken the helm of IC Bus as its leader. What is your vision that kind of dovetails off of what Matthias was saying, and you kind of get to see all that vision through and actually execute at the end of it?
Right. I mean, I'm excited to be a part of making this vision a reality, I will say. IC Bus, is recognized as a number one school bus leader in the industry. And we also want to be that thought leader, in the school bus industry. We have bold goals, and our bold goals are, by 2032, we want 95% of buses deployed and sold to be electric in the school bus realm. So we do have really big aspirations and goals, but again, I believe that it's doable if we ensure that we do it carefully and again, thoughtfully with our customers so that they have that great experience. Because you do hear those stories, Tony, and I've heard some even on your podcast around customers that haven't necessarily had the best experience, with electric buses. And so it's really critical that we do everything we can to provide those solutions to customers so that they have that great experience right at the onset. From a company standpoint, we have goals as well to achieve 50% zero emission vehicle sales by 2030 and 100% by 2040. Carbon neutral by 2050. So as a company, even outside of, IC Bus and our bus division, we have bold goals when it comes to electrification and zero emission vehicle sales.
Yeah, well, the EPA might help as well, because budget is always kind of top of mind for many school districts looking at the capital investment of equipment. And the EPA obviously clean school bus funding round 2. We've been holding our breath, waiting for details to be released, which is probably sooner than later. We're prognosticating probably next 60 days. We'll see. But, how has IC Bus helped customers in round 1, and kind of looking forward, what are the resources you have available to customers to help access this new technology from a funding perspective?
I think one of the biggest things that we did during round one is we stood up a brand new area. We call it the Zero Emissions Team. And people who know Trish Reed is actually leading that Zero Emissions team within Navistar. So it's an in-house team with dedicated staff when it pertains to zero emissions. And so that team really has created these three major big buckets to support electrification. Step one is consulting, and that's doing the needs assessment, the site assessment, working with grant writing and financing. Step two is the infrastructure piece, which is charging, deployment, and training. And then step three is really thinking about connected, the charging communications, using OCC, I360, and there's lots of charging around and connected and digital around electrification, right? I think about even when I sit in a Tesla and, the big screens and all of, the technology that's embedded in that. And so you think about that for the school bus and you say, how do we help our customers operate and be more efficient out there running their routes? So thinking about state of charge and route management when it comes to electrification is really going to be key and critical as we move into this digital age, right? Of which electrification is going to be right there with it. So it's providing all of those resources for our customers so that they're really successful into the future.
Yeah, no, those are great insights, and the industry's excited to see what IC Bus has in store for us in the next few years. Lots of exciting things happening in the school bus market around electrification, and we're excited you're at the helm there at IC Bus, and your friend Trish Reed isn't far away leading the electrification division, so you guys can work in tandem to kind of keep helping customers get what they need for the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's really good to have a partner like that, and also to have dedicated resources to help, again, customers as we continue to really be that trusted solutions provider with the new technology and digitalization and connected into the future. And of course, leveraging the strength of our dealer network along the way is going to be critical and important. And they've just been great. Even when we go to pilot, we always encourage, fail fast. Let's try something. If it doesn't work, let's move on, right? Like let's be courageous in that space to know that we're going to try things that aren't going to work, but then we just, and then we just keep moving until we get it right. And so I really, I have to applaud our dealer network too for really helping us through that and working with the customers as we think about electrification and deployment.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and spending some time with me and sharing a little bit about what's happening with IC Bus. And we're excited to see you this summer at STN Expo in Indianapolis and STN Expo in Reno. So you'll be there at our Green Bus Summit as well, sharing with all your experts and clients. So can't wait for those conversations as well. So guys, if you're interested in checking out the team at IC Bus in person, great places to see them at STN Expo this summer. All right, next up, Taylor Ekpatani and Kim DeHaven.
All right, guys. So I am here with another awesome guest on the podcast. We have Kim DeHaven. She's the supervisor of transportation for Englewood Schools in Colorado. So welcome, Kim. Good to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is really exciting, but nervous at the same time, but I'm excited to share everything with you guys.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and Colorado is doing a lot of great things. So I'm really excited for you to share that. And I'm also really sad that our viewers can't see Kim, as I am so lucky to see her right now. We're filming on St. Patrick's Day, so she is all greened out, clovers all over. I love it.
Thanks. The thing you probably can see is the green eyeshadow.
Oh, do you have any exciting St. Patrick's Day plans this weekend? Green beverages?
Well, we started early. We already had the green tea from the Starbucks this morning, and we're going to have the traditional corned beef and cabbage for dinner tonight.
There you go. I thought about it. I looked up a recipe. I was like, should I try and make this? But I don't know. I got intimidated. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it's intimidating at first, but I was up at 5 a.m., threw it in the crock pot. By the time I get home, we're going to be having some really good dinner tonight.
Wow, that's impressive. Awesome. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. Englewood Schools, it looks like you guys are south of downtown Denver, so just kind of out of that bubble, right?
Yep, we're about 2 to 3 miles south of Denver in a small little rural area called Englewood. It's kind of funny because all of us Englewood natives, which I am an Englewood native, a graduate of Englewood Schools, and now the transportation supervisor for Englewood Schools, we always call Englewood a small gem. And when we introduce new staff members or new teachers or families to the area, we're like, you're going to fall in love. Englewood is a small gem hidden in a big city because really we're south of Denver, east of Cherry Creek, north of Douglas, and west of Jefferson County. So we are definitely surrounded by the big school districts. And in the middle is Englewood Schools.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned that you're kind of competing, with these bigger districts for drivers. So I'm sure that's a challenge as well.
Definitely. I was telling you, we have the big city schools around us. So, the competitive wages out there, it's fun here in Colorado. If one's offering more, the other one will bump up and we just keep going. Mm-hmm. But with Englewood, I really love it because the cool thing about Englewood is we offer neighborhood schools in each quadrant of our city. So students actually don't have to take the school bus as much as the big school districts because they are within walking distance of their schools. And that's what I think families and friends of Englewood fall in love with is their kids can actually walk to their neighboring schools.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So what's kind of the breakdown, number of students you guys transporting, school buses, number of routes, that kind of thing?
So Englewood is small. So we have about 12 buses on our fleet. Due to the national shortage of drivers, we have 6 drivers on staff, 1 mechanic/driver because we all wear those many hats, mm-hmm. 1 substitute driver. So I'm lucky to have those retirees that love to work for me and they offer to come back and work as a part-time driver. And then we have myself. And what I tell everyone is I'm the backup to the entire operation here. If I need a dispatcher, I'm the dispatcher. If I need to call the parent, I'm calling the parent. If I have to go rescue the bus on the side of the road, I'm on my way. So I am the backup to the amazing operation. We have 16 total routes. We transport over 200 students per day. So even as small as we are, we're still transporting 200 students daily to and from school, and that's regular ed and special education. And on Wednesdays, it becomes a little trickier because Wednesdays are our early release days for our out-of-district students who go to special schools. So we are running over 20 routes on Wednesdays.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's busy with 6 drivers.
Yeah, I'm sure. Are you guys doubling up runs then?
We are doubling up runs. The cool thing we have is we have some really good bell schedules, so we can tier them out. It's always fun to hear how bigger districts have challenges, and I'm here like, how I can make it work. Why can't you? But it's a smaller piece of their big puzzle.
Mm-hmm. And, sometimes we hear smaller districts, though, it's just as challenging because, like you said, the transportation supervisor is also responsible for covering when those, shortages are there. So,
right. No, it's absolutely true. And, in the smaller districts, I'm considered a supervisor, but if I were to take my position and put it into a bigger school district, it really is a director. But because we're so small scale, we're the supervisor. So a lot of people don't realize that I am the dispatcher. I'm the route operator. I'm the route builder. I'm the one filming the field trips. So it is a lot going into a small district, and we wear one of 30 hats on a daily basis.
So, speaking of being a smaller district, Kim, is there any technology that you guys are utilizing or any initiatives that you're looking at for this school year to kind of help you guys out?
So yeah, at this time, we're using the technology that we have been given and making it work. So really the only possible technology we have right now is cameras and radios. When it comes to manifest, we're creating Google Sheets and giving those to the drivers every week on Monday morning, and then giving them the information through paper. So we're kind of like an old school feel. But I will tell you this, of course, there's a wish list a mile long for Englewood Schools that I would love to implement, but because of the budget constraints, we're just not quite there yet. But however, I do have some good news. We are currently doing a study with First Light right now where we're keeping track of the passing violations of vehicles passing the school bus with just the normal reflective tape. And we've been capturing that information for the last 2 months. So coming in the next few weeks, we will be getting our light up stop arm, and we're going to be implementing that on one of the 2 buses that we're doing the study with. And I'm interested to see how those violations are lowered so I can prove this data to the board so we can implement this new technology. In regards to the new alternative fuel, it's going to be tough. Those will have to come with the growth and the development of the availability of those resources, especially within this area. We're a small town, and with the slow development of those alternative fuels and EV options, the infrastructure is just not quite there yet. And again, we're that small town surrounded by the big city. So if I were to buy a propane bus right now, I don't even know where I could go to get propane close enough to this district without running out or charging a bus within a station that's even in the vicinity of Englewood. So it's so new that we're looking at it, but we're sitting back and watching to make sure it's there before we proceed forward. So it's taking those baby steps, but with technology, I would love to have some technology. It's just with budget and the needs, we have to prioritize what's most important. So I'm loving that First Light's giving us this option, and they're giving us one freebie right now of a test item. So at least it's baby steps, and slowly we're turning that technology into something positive.
And have you guys seen a lot of illegal passing in your area?
So yeah, actually we have. And what it is I think those people are just in a hurry and they can't wait for those students to get off the bus. So they give up and they drive around the driver's side of the bus, and honking our horn isn't going to do anything. So, maybe with the invention of this First Light variant, it's going to help make a difference. Hopefully stop arm cameras in the near future will help capture those violators. And I think it's just education in the Englewood area. But if I'm having it here in this small district, I can't imagine what's going on in those bigger cities.
Right. And we've reported on it too nationally, I want to say that NASDIPS has used the term, epidemic of illegal passing.
Yeah, and it's increased, and I don't know what is causing this, but at the end of the day, the student's safety is the most important thing. And whatever we can do to make that school bus stand out and really let those drivers know that this is the danger zone and that there are precious cargo getting on and off that school bus on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I know you're really involved in your state organizations, and we spoke at the TSD conference in Frisco, Texas this last year. So I know you're really involved, and you're always trying to learn and get more information. And we'll kind of jump into your current organizations that you're in. But how did you kind of get started in the industry?
So I was 21 years old. I was freshly out of high school in the beginning years of my college, and my dad, small town again, was working for Englewood Schools at that time, and he referred me to the position for school bus driving, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try it. So sure enough, within 2 weeks, I was behind the wheel driving students to and from school, and I think the best part was it worked with my school schedule. So I came in the morning, I drove a morning route. I was the dedicated field trip driver. So I went on field trips every day. And while the students were getting their education on those events and activities, I was doing homework on the inside of the bus. And then coming back, dropping off those students, doing my afternoon route, and then hopping a bus to go to school downtown, where I did graduate with my teaching degree in elementary education. So in 2004, I graduated with my minor in elementary ed. So I ventured away from school bus driving, got into the classroom for a couple of years, and I finally found my way back to Englewood Schools in the summer of 2011 when I became a school bus driver again. After 3 months of driving, I was asked to take the administrative assistant duties such as route building, maintaining those driver files, entering the mileage data and reporting it to CDE, and responding to parent phone calls and questions regarding their routes. Slowly over the years, I earned my way into the position I currently have since 2016, and I haven't looked back.
That's awesome. And I know you even said you went to Englewood Schools, so it's really a full circle.
It really is. So yeah, I started out here, went to Charles Hay, which is still here, went to Flood Middle School, which is no longer here. It was torn down and we have combined our middle school with our high school. So Englewood High School is now the Englewood campus, but in my heart, it's Englewood High School. Graduated in 97, started driving here in 2000, kind of left for a little bit. And I have been here for the last 12 years.
Yeah, there's something brought you back.
It's a native thing.
So, in honor of Women's History Month, I think you're one of our only women guests on the podcast this month. So you gotta represent all the women in transportation right now. No pressure.
No pressure at all.
But how do you think the landscape, in terms of those kind of in charge of people transportation has changed throughout the years?
Well, and I was saying this earlier to some of my coworkers here, and coincidentally, one of my old bus drivers came by for a visit this afternoon, and I would definitely say it has changed because I remember as a child riding the bus to school here in Englewood. Every single one of my bus drivers was a male. I can only remember one female driver at that time. So I feel as the years have passed, you see more and more women behind the wheel of the school bus and taking those roles in the administrative positions within our transportation departments. I think having women on a transportation team helps with the team morale, and it brings team members to life. It brings their spirit alive. Jokingly, you were mentioning my lovely St. Patrick's attire, and my drivers saw me this morning and they're coming in and they're like, hey, there's a little leprechaun hopping around here. So I think it's just nice to have that touch of a woman in our industry. A simple good morning from anyone, but, a mom of three children now can change a day for anyone on your team, and having that motherly figure and voice on the team is a huge game changer. We have that sensitive touch. We know what the students need in regards to empathy. We can talk to them as a mom. We can talk to them as a counselor, as a teacher. I think women play a huge role in this industry, and it has definitely changed over the years. And it's exciting to watch. I mean, we just had our director of the year this past year at TSD, and Nicole Pertel previously before that. So women are definitely coming and they're striving towards the top, which is exciting.
Yeah, so Kim is referring to Jennifer Vobis of Clark County School District, who was our 2022 Transportation Director of the Year, to get my years correctly. But yeah, so she was just recognized at TSD. So that was a really great reference that you made there, Kim.
Right. No, it's exciting to watch how many women are coming up through the industry and just striving towards the top. So I think there's more to come, and I'm excited to see where this industry goes, even with all the changes coming.
And speaking of women coming up in the industry, we are looking at the president-elect of your guys' state association. So the Colorado State Pupil Transportation Association. I know you said you're going to be kind of taking the reins this summer. And I even looked online, and a lot of your other board positions within the association are a majority women-led. So I don't know, how does it feel to like take on and lead this organization as a female, but also to see your female peers in leadership roles as well?
So it's exciting. It's nerve-wracking, but it is definitely exciting and something that I've had to look forward to for the last 2 years. I've worked with a great partner, David Herzl, but it is now time for him to hand over those reins to me coming up this June at our annual conference. But I think what's most exciting is each of us have been nominated and voted in by our own peers in the public transportation industry here in Colorado. So each of us have been voted in by the members of the Colorado State Transportation Pupil Association. So it's exciting to see that the women are getting voted onto the board. And, I was kind of looking at our board pictures today, and I'm like, there really is only 3 men on the board, and we're surrounded by 9 of us women. So it's exciting because I think we all come with a different dedicated specialty that we like to strive in. So I'll throw out Josie Campbell with Harrison School District. She's on our board, but I always refer to her as our wheelchair queen of training, because if any of us have an issue, it's Josie. We go to Josie, and she has attended the Q strength training, and she brings that back to the state. So I think we all have our own specialty that we strive in, and it's good because we bring that skill to the table, and it's something we can turn around and educate others in the state on that same type of skill. So it's exciting to see.
So when you take the reins, what are some of your goals for the organization? Any hot topics that you guys are kind of talking about?
So at the end of the day, I always have to tell everyone and remind everyone we're all here for the same goal, and that is to safely transport our students to and from school and on activity trips. My goal has always been, I want to make a difference. And being so involved in the transportation world in Colorado, we know there is a need for training in all areas of the state. We do offer some small trainings throughout the year. So our fleet, we have different committees. We have a fleet committee, and we have a trainers committee, and we have a SPED committee, and a legislative committee. And we all offer a small training from those committees. And then we offer a one big summer summit. However, I know from hearing from feedback that not everyone can afford to go to the summit or travel to those areas. And my goal deep down and my vision is, why don't we go to them and do a pop-up training? Maybe it's a 1 day, maybe it's a 2-day training, but we need to start reaching out to those rural areas and mountain areas and give back to the state and the industry. But of course, that's my envision based on my amazing group of leaders on the board. And I know their willpower. I think it can be done. We just need to make it a priority and make a plan and implement that plan.
That's awesome. And I think that definitely touches on the aspect that not everyone can travel. Not everyone has, that luxury to be able to attend these conferences. So the fact that you've recognized that and you want to go to them, I think that's huge.
And it is. Thank you. I really do agree. I can hear it. I see it. And you're right. Not everybody can come to us. And with that national driver shortage, if you lose one driver in a rural area, that could be 6 or 7 different routes. And why don't we make the difference and we go to them on maybe a non-work day and just do a pop-up training and invite those neighboring schools? So I'm hoping that I can make a difference within the next 2 years when I take these reins. And I know we can. We have to implement it and strive to reach that goal.
And I know another organization that you're a part of is the Transportation Advisory Council, and that's through the Colorado Department of Transportation. You've also put yourself on that council, to learn, to gain knowledge. What's kind of going on there? I know Colorado has some big initiatives and some big things that you guys are working on.
Yeah, we've always been a leader in the industry, and we're always a step ahead is what I always tell people. We were probably one of the first states that implemented the ELDT, and we actually created our own material and testing items for the new ELDT. We were asked by other states to share what we came up with. And that's really kudos to Susan Miller, who is yet another powerful woman in the state of Colorado. She is with the Colorado Department of Education on the school transportation department. She is our state representative for school transportation. And it's kudos to her for taking the lead on this ELDT and getting CSPTA involved and creating this Transportation Advisory Council and getting leaders of all different areas of the state together and asking us, how are we going to implement this? Because it was a huge deal when it came out. We're currently always updating our operational rules for the state of Colorado. And it's not just for the schools, it's also for the charters and the service providers to meet some of those requirements of the ELDT, trainer certificates and training regulations that are coming out. Over the last year and a half, we've been reviewing and updating our minimum standards for all of our school bus and transportation vehicles. And this year, we're including a whole new section on those EV electric buses. We all know it's a new technology that's coming to us, but we need to develop a special section for just those buses because there's a huge lack of knowledge. Those buses are coming out with voltages of batteries that, if we're not trained right, could hurt something or someone seriously. So we have a special section coming out on trainings and what needs to be done, not just with just the mechanic, but the bus driver who's doing their daily pre-trips and post-trips. And what does it look like when that vehicle is charging? When should you not touch that vehicle when it's charging? So we have a lot of unknown at this time. So we definitely are always trying to look ahead and look out for our transportation industry.
Mm-hmm. I think that's important too, including that section on EVs. And I don't know if any other states have done it, but I think that's huge, especially since it is going to be something that we're going to see more and more electric vehicles coming into the play in school transportation.
Most definitely. And I think it's so new. And I know that some of our districts do have them here in Colorado. I know Steamboat Springs and Boulder. Denver Public Schools has one from what I have been told, and then Aurora Public Schools. But because of that lack of knowledge, those buses aren't moving. They're not moving because either the infrastructure is not strong enough, it hasn't been brought up to code, we don't have the training, we don't have the knowledge. So the best thing we can do as the Transportation Advisory Council for the state is get ahead of this and create a safety manual or add a section about electric buses into our training material so we can make sure at the end of the day, not only is our staff safe, but our students are safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very important. All right, Kim, well, I think I've stolen enough of your time today. I know you have corned beef to go eat.
Thanks. Looking forward to that.
I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast, for sharing your insights, for definitely being that advocate for Women's History Month and, for being a woman leader in school transportation. I think it's very important.
Thank you. It's definitely exciting times right now, and I definitely love what I do. And like you said, I have my hands in everything. I'm just a big sponge wanting to learn.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So thank you.
A special thanks to our partners today, TransFinder, IC Bus, the Propane Education Research Council. Couldn't have done it without you guys as our episode sponsors. Also, extra special thanks to the TNT combo of Taylor Ekbatani. Couldn't have had TNT without one of our T's, right, Taylor?
Exactly. Like dynamite, Tony.
That's it. Kaboom. All right. Visit stnonline.com for the latest news and industry updates happening in the school transportation industry. Guys, you can listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to pods. Get it out there, share with everyone. And don't forget, register for STN Expo this summer, June 2nd through the 6th and July 14th through the 19th. Guys, go to stnexpo.com for all the details. Lock in those early bird and super early bird rates to get those savings. If you need more information, the agenda's on the website. We got networking events, the Green Bus Summit, Transportation Director Summit, networking with peers. There's so much happening. The website's got it all. Make sure you go there, get updated, talk to your boss, make sure, show the value of the conference. Be there with us this summer. We'd love to have you. All right, nation, we love you. We'll see you next week.